Welcome back to another episode of a UteNation Podcast, The Enemy's Perspective. For this week, I'm your host, Alex Markham, joined this week by one of my dear friends within this industry, Hod Rabino. Hod, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, Alex. Long time no speak. And big
Yeah,
game this weekend.
man. And I'll tell you, every year I have this game marked, and it's not even just for Utah and Arizona State, man. It's because I get to talk to my guy that much more. So
Same
you're
here, man.
you,
Same here.
yeah, hey, you're one of the guys in the industry. Like I said, man, I've always loved and enjoyed all of our interactions, man. And it goes outside of this stuff for us, and it always will. So I always appreciate it. So
Likewise, man. Likewise.
let's talk some football though, buddy. So,
Okay.
man, so from the Pac-12 to the Big 12,
Mm.
but now you know it's basically another version of Pac-12 After Dark this weekend at one point, man. So it's gonna feel a little bit more nostalgic, a little bit more at home. How are you feeling about the Sun Devils coming into this matchup?
I'll tell you what. I mean, just like in general, when I look just at the Sun Devils for their season to date, look. I mean, 4-1, ranked number 21 in the nation, 2-0 in the Big 12. I know it's a record that a lot of teams in the Big 12 across the nation would love to trade places with, but I just feel that there's kind of like a sense of, I don't know if dissatisfaction is too strong of a word, but there really has not been a game where ASU has played, let's say, even just 3 quarters of good football. It's always like a spurt here on offense, a spurt here on defense. Ironically, the last 2 games were both 27-24 wins, exact score. Needed a good field goal kicker to win the game from them. The game at Baylor was a walk-off winning field goal, and on the one hand, okay, great. ASU was hoping they're going to have that weapon this year, and they do have it, so great. But it just seems that neither the offense nor the defense have really played up to the capabilities. I don't know if it's going to happen this weekend in Salt Lake, because obviously they got one heck of an opponent on the road to face. But I think fans are okay with what they've seen so far. But I don't think it'd be too dramatic to say that right now ASU, not only because they're coming out of a bye, but I feel that they're at a crossroads. I mean, they're reigning Big 12 champs, and they need to make a statement these next 2 games. Utah on the road, Texas Tech at home. I mean, I think even before the season started, Alex, we all looked at this 2 game stretch like, okay, this is where you're either a contender or you're a pretender. And just the fact that we still don't know which ASU team is going to show up, I think maybe does really cause some apprehension. And if you bring all the history back that ASU has not done well in Salt Lake in the last 10 or so years. Doesn't matter if the game is a daytime or a nighttime, but a nighttime doesn't really increase the chances of something good happening over there. So I'm just really curious to see if this bye week really helped ASU to truly turn the page on a lot of stuff, really correct all the shortcomings that they displayed on both sides of the ball. And we'll see what team shows up on Saturday night at Rice Eccles.
I wanted to ask you about Dillingham because I know we had some interesting conversations about him at the start. But before we even kick into that, since you were mentioning, just kind of how they've started and everything, really kind of curious your take on Sam Levitt. Great performance last season. Ute fans know him all too well to the point where he was a silent commit to Utah for the longest
Yep.
time, and then Dillingham, convinced him like, hey, you're gonna have a shot to start here, and then obviously the rest is history. Um, as anybody would, he's improved in some areas, and then there's been some areas where he's regressed, maybe not through his own fault, maybe it's what's able to have been around him and everything. But assess his performance for me so far, and what's gone right, what's gone wrong, and what you need to see improve with him.
Yeah, I think it's really been an incomplete performance. For the most part, he's not lighting up the stat sheet when you look at the body of work over the first 5 games. Ironically, wide receiver Jordan Tyson is playing out of his mind, and he already was coming off a great season. If anybody had any doubts that Jordan Tyson is going to declare for the NFL draft next year. I think those doubts, even pretty early in the season, have absolutely been removed. Not only this guy is a bona fide, first round draft pick next year, just like Spencer Fano, for example, but he is somebody that legitimately top 10, and some people we would even go and say that he could even go possibly top 5. So it's kind of weird for me to talk about Sam Levitt, kind of being incomplete grade, really showing more valleys than peaks so far when Jordan Tyson is playing so well. But I think that one thing that has been definitely apparent that Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson are having great chemistry, and that's not breaking news by any means. But sometimes the chemistry is so good that the chemistry cannot be developed with other wide receivers and even some of the tight ends for that matter. And all of us covering Arizona State knew, like, wow, this is even a deeper wide receiver group than last year. This is a deeper tight end group than it was last year. And we're expecting Sam Levitt just to pepper the ball all around, have massive stats, and have all these wide receivers and tight ends really have some eye popping numbers. And so far, unless you're named Jordan Tyson, that just hasn't happened. So I think that's really the biggest thing that really jumps at everybody. I mean, Sam Levitt throws balls that are sometimes impossible to catch, and Jordan Tyson makes a play. But when those balls are being thrown to other wide receivers and other tight ends, well, yeah, then a play is not made. So I think that's one thing that really has hurt. I know Sam Levitt, just ironically, a few hours ago said that, all these Heisman candidate talk is something that he paid attention maybe a little too much, maybe let him affect himself a little too much. And after 2, 3 weeks, when it was already kind of clear, like, okay, it's not going to happen this year in terms of being a Heisman Trophy candidate or legit candidate, I should say, then just concentrate on myself, just concentrate on my offense and getting better. Maybe that was kind of, the aha moment that just kind of like, okay, to, turn on the light bulb for Sam Levitt, and we saw a different quarterback. In terms of his best performance of the year, that did happen right before the bye week in the win against TCU. He did throw the ball to eight different wide receivers, even though the offensive line has still been kind of shaky with pass protection, and that definitely affected Sam Levitt too. Aside from the other stuff that I mentioned, he still was able to have a great game. Still making highlight plays to Jordan Tyson. So I'm really curious if he can really build on that momentum going against Utah. And it might be unfair almost for any quarterback to say like, okay, you had a great game right before Utah. Let's go and keep it up, buddy, and see what you can do there in Salt Lake. But I think that we saw finally the Sam Levitt we expected to see again against TCU. Can he continue that against Utah? He doesn't have great memories, from the game last year, even though it was a win. That was also a game that knocked him out for the next game against Cincinnati, which is only one of 2 regular season losses for ASU. I'm not saying that what keeps him up at night or anything like that, but it's kind of funny that he said that against a team like Utah you really need to be a playmaker from the pocket and not try to make too many plays with your feet because you can definitely pay for that dearly. Again, evident of what happened last year in Tempe. So I'm really curious to see what kind of Sam Levitt we're seeing. So again, to answer your question, up until the TCU game, it just wasn't really the Sam Levitt we expected to see, and definitely a disappointment against TCU. Finally, seeing the quarterback we expected to see. We'll see if we can continue that on Saturday night.
You mentioned there that obviously the hit that he took against Utah kept him out of the next game last year, and it ended up being a loss. I'd have to go back and take a look, but I want to say every single game Utah's played this year, they have beat up the opposing quarterback to the point where they've either missed the rest of the game or they've missed a decent chunk of it. So, yeah, I mean, you said it. Utah's a tough physical defense, and yeah, I mean, he's got to be aware. ASU's lone blemish is Mississippi State.
Yep.
Okay, so when it comes down to that, not a bad loss, especially when it's an SEC school. But was that kind of maybe did that provide kind of a blueprint, a recipe on how to handle Arizona State, or do you feel like that was maybe more just them being on the road and them beating themselves to an extent?
I think ASU definitely did beat themselves to some extent, and Sam Levitt in the Mississippi State game is not the Sam Levitt we saw against TCU. So I don't know how much you can really derive from that. It was a crazy game, Alex. I mean, ASU was down big, obviously. 17 points, cowbells and everything. They still scored 20 unanswered points. So I think if you're an ASU fan, that kind of gives you hope that all the noise that's expected on Saturday night, it's like, okay, it's not going to be louder than Starkville, Mississippi. I mean, being there in person, Alex, I'm telling you, it was off the hook, noisy. And not to go on too much of a tangent, there's an SEC rule that you cannot ring that dang cowbell once the quarterback goes under center or the center puts his hand on the ball. Now, sure enough, there were Big 12 refs over there officiating the game, and I think the crowd almost like feed into that and say, okay, let's go ahead and push our luck. So trust me, those cowbells were on, the entire 4 quarters. They were not stopping when they were supposed to stop at an SEC game. But nonetheless, I mean, ASU was able to deal with the noise and just some critical mistakes on offense and defense really late in the game, preventing them from winning. Sam Levitt, not so many words said that maybe this is like the wake up call, the blow to the head, however you want to phrase it, that ASU needed. Because if they won that game, maybe they could feel like, okay, we could just go on cruise control and just win every game after that. And even some of the games after Mississippi State, ASU did not play great football. But I think that game was maybe, the necessary evil loss that maybe helped them win the games thereafter. So, providing a blueprint, I really don't know if I would really describe it as that because, again, they didn't play great football against Baylor or against TCU for that matter. So I think the Utah coaches and any coach that's going to coach against ASU from here on out can take just as much from those 2 wins in Big 12 as they can from that Mississippi State loss.
All right, buddy. So we are in the age of getting clipped. I've been clipped on things. Our good friend Chris Level's been clipped on things. You said something there that I'm not going to clip you. I hope,
Okay.
but I hope you fans don't. So I'm gonna give you an opportunity because I know
Yeah.
how highly you speak of Rice Eccles Stadium
Absolutely. Yeah.
and the Ute fans, right? You
Yeah.
mentioned that Rice Eccles is nowhere near going to get as loud as it was with the cowbells and everything at Mississippi State. So,
Yeah.
I mean, just tell everybody like your thoughts on Ute fans in that environment because I
Oh no.
know again like that can get taken out of context, right? I
Sure.
know how highly you think of this fan base and this
No,
atmosphere.
absolutely. And I said earlier, in our interview right now, for the last 10 or so years, ASU's record at Rice Eccles is crappy. There's just no other way to say it. Whether the game is the daytime or a night game, you know, um, you know, BYU fans, not to go on a tangent over here, they keep their tailgates dry and they're still dang noisy. The Utah fans, and I know from experience, they don't keep their tailgates dry. No judgment at all. Okay, so they're noisier than the fans in Provo. How's that? But when you don't have that damn accessory cowbell, it's just it really is a different kind of noise. But yeah, I know that Rice Eccles maybe second only to Mississippi State just because of that dang accessory in terms of the toughest road game that ASU is going to play this year. And if just to reshape, rewrite the story over here, if you will. ASU on offense today, and probably going to do it tomorrow too. They practice in the dome with loudspeakers. While the defense was practicing outside because obviously they don't have to deal with noise. So yeah, if any Utah fan thinks that ASU is taking the atmosphere lightly or thinking like, okay, we've been through the hell of Mississippi State, everything from here on out is gravy. Trust me, that's not at all. They know there's going to be a rowdy atmosphere. They know they have to go silent count and and do whatever they need to do to minimize false starts and just assignments mistakes. So it is quite a challenge. Even if it would be a day game and balmy weather over there at Rice Eccles, that wasn't going to be easy. Now when you got an 8:15 kickoff, let's say it again, 8:15 kickoff in rainy conditions, makes an already challenging, rowdy atmosphere that much more challenging and rowdier.
Okay, we're going to talk about Dillingham, and this is going to segue perfectly into this before I
Okay.
ask you the main thing, right? But the crowd noise wasn't the only thing they've been messing with. There is a clip that has gone viral with at least Ute fans. They're obsessing over it, cracking up, where you got, I think it's Dillingham, right?
Yeah.
Squirting the water
Yeah.
bottle every time.
Yeah.
Levitt's dropping back and getting ready to throw. Give me your thoughts on that. And did he talk to everybody about just like the line of thinking behind that? Because it's like, why don't you just take a ball and like wrap it in a soaked towel, right? Or dunk it, just dunk it in like a tube
Well,
of
see,
water.
maybe
It's
Dilling has been just even more thoughtful in saying, okay, the rain coming from the sky is just like a squirt bottle, being squirted. I
on the
guess when I look
side.
at that, but look, I mean, all jokes aside, I mean, better do that than nothing than just practice
Yeah,
with dry balls, all the time. And again, I'm not going to harp on the Mississippi State game, Alex, but there were cowbells in the dome the whole week of practice leading up to that game.
I
And
think I heard that.
ASU had a really bad slow start and then scored 20 unanswered points. So, the extracurricular activities that the coaches are using, whether it's cowbells, whether it's squirting a football with water, is things that they feel that works. And they feel, again, it's better to do that. And yeah, it could look goofy on video. And then trust me, Mississippi State gave me, enough crap when I was shooting the loudspeaker with the cowbells and everything. But again, it's better to do that than do nothing, than just treat it just like another game. It's just like if ASU was not working on a silent count this week. I mean, of course they have to do it, and obviously it's nothing that we're going to film or anything or anything like that. But again, it just has to be done. I mean, what you're getting into, and you just can't treat it just like another road game, just like you know other road games later on in the year that may be less challenging, that are going to present not as challenging of elements, if you will. So if it made it for a nice viral video and everything, so be it. But again, we know there's a good chance it's going to rain on Saturday. You're not going to go ahead and just have those football bake in the Tempe sun, for 2.5 hours of practice, and
Yeah,
not do anything, not pretend there's not going to be rain. So
for
looks goofy on video. I guess it is what it is.
sure. So yeah, Dillingham, man. I still remember hearing about it, seeing the press conference.
Hmm.
And I called you up. I was like, buddy, I'm like, what are your thoughts on this? I'm like, he's young. I get that he's
Hmm.
nervous, but oh man, because that was quite the intro press conference, right? And you immediately you're like, Alex, like, look, yeah, he's nervous. He needs to get trained up on that stuff, but he's real. He's authentic.
Hmm.
He's a Arizona. He grew up a diehard Arizona State fan, and
Yep.
you kept drawing parallels and similarities to Utah with Morgan Scalley,
Exactly.
right? Saying that you feel like Arizona State has their guys similar to how Utah was and is expected to have Morgan,
Hmm.
right? I'll be honest, man. Like he's won me over. I'm entertained by that guy, and anytime I come across one of his interviews, I want to hear it because one, he's comedy, but at the same time too, he's again just so genuine, so authentic,
Yeah.
right? And he's that type you want to go to battle for, right? He's instantly become like probably one of my top 3 to top 5 coaches in college football, just because his coaching mind, but also just the person he is. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and honestly, also what you're saying is I've heard other beat writers in the Big 12 say that too. Again, you talk about viral Kenny moments as they relate to Utah. Obviously, remember the post game interview that he had after that Utah win, when he gets swallowed by the students that stormed the field and everything. And that is Kenny Dillingham. I mean, when an alumnus of a school that you're a head coach, you just cannot fake it. It's just absolutely impossible. Uh, when you bring that passion after a horrible Herm Edwards era, and a horrible, trust me, that's way too kind of an adjective to even
We
mention.
had plenty of conversations on that.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. So I mean, he absolutely was the right person for the job. And even though the Activate the Valley was something that he said spur of the moment, I mean, he said many times after that interview that was not planned at all. It just came out. I mean, he said, by the way, like he had a whole interview in his head, interview script in his head that he was gonna, come out and say it, and just for like 30 seconds in or whatever, he just lost it and started bawling.
blackouts.
Yeah, but he spoke from his heart the whole time. I mean, anybody that criticized him or whatever, you can't say that he wasn't speaking from the heart. You can't say it wasn't genuine. You can't say the passion was fake or was done for the cameras.
Uh-huh.
And the fact that he was able to turn around ASU on the dime, and I'll be the first one to say, to have a transfer portal, a robust transfer portal where you could add anybody you wanted with no limits and everything, came at the exact right time for somebody like Kenny
It did.
Dillingham, who had to basically destruct this program just to go and build it up in a constructive way. I mean, sure, you blew everybody away, turning ASU around in 2 years. No, nobody expected that to be at that level, I should say. I mean, I expected ASU, his second year, maybe to be 6-6, maybe 7-5 if things really bounce their way. But I think with Kenny Dillingham, aside from the passion and caring so much about this program, and somebody you don't have to worry about being a mercenary or anything like that, is just the talent evaluation. Because if you just look from top to bottom at all the players that they added through the transfer portal, I'm telling you, there are not a lot of whiffs at all. And
Mm.
again, and it helps that he was able to bring 30 or so players the first 2 years. But, quantity is great, but the quality has to match the quantity. And I think for ASU that really, really was able to achieve, just because Dillingham and a great coaching staff around him were able to identify great talent, after another. You talk about Sam Levitt and really prying him from Utah. That's definitely a feather in his cap and in ASU's cap when it comes to talent evaluation. And I think just having a coach like Kenny Dillingham should give ASU fans a lot of hope that, okay, just like he built up Sam Levitt to what he was last year, he can really start engineering that turnaround that Sam Levitt really needs to play consistently with the confidence and with the talent level that is expected, to play at. I mean, Herm Edwards or Todd Graham, if they're a head coach right now, and I would tell, and if somebody asked me, okay, well, they can't turn around things with Sam Levitt, I said, well, I don't know. I can't say I'm feeling too great about that. But with Kenny Dillingham at the helm, there's absolutely a much higher sense of confidence, and that's just one example of many how he was able to bring great players in the transfer portal. More importantly, him and his staff really coaching up those players to what ASU is right now.
You mentioned the transfer portal.
Hmm.
So, um, again, they've done a great job with that. It was an extremely fortunate time, and he
Yeah.
was the perfect coach for it, just like you said. So, you've got Levitt, you've got Tyson, you've
Mhm.
got Raleek Brown, who has been great for you guys coming over from USC.
Mhm.
Talk to me about some of the guys from the portal, and maybe they don't even have to be from the portal, right? But just the ones to really watch for on Saturday for you fans.
Yeah, I mean, I would say besides the obvious, which is the best wide receiver Jordan Tyson, the best running back Raleek Brown, tight end Shaman Mateer, who definitely had a good 2024. So I don't think is really sneaking up on anybody, but he's a tight end transfer that came from technically from Colorado. He was there for a cup of coffee. He was there at spring practice. Decided he didn't like the vibe in Boulder, and then came to ASU. But he was at Cincinnati before that. when we talk about somebody else stepping up in the passing game that's not named Jordan Tyson, he's the first player that you look at. So I would say Shaman Matera is definitely one player that you do want to be on the lookout for. I know that Fresno State wide receiver transfer Jalen Moss was only able to play in the season opener, and then had some various injuries going on. He's going to be back for the Utah game. I'm still curious to see what kind of role he's going to play. But in terms of really being a reliable wide receiver, I think that he might be a missing piece that Sam Levitt didn't have almost for the entire season. So again, when you go back and asking about some of the things that affected Sam Levitt, I think there's been some talk in Tempe that not having Jalen Moss for over one game, something that definitely did not help Sam Levitt in the passing game as a whole. So those are the transfers that I would look at that side of the ball. On defense, they're pretty much returning everybody but one starter. So the Nickelback Kendrick Breedlove is the only new starter. He's a transfer from Purdue because of the injury to Montana Warren. He's been starting and playing a lot, and we've seen a player that's playing better and better. But really, when you look at ASU's improved sack numbers, they already have 19 sacks after 5 games. They had 24 sacks the entire last year. So Big 12 championship or not, pass rush definitely was not a strength of this ASU defense. And this year, able to turn it around, and that's thanks to two transfers that actually been here since year one of Kenny Dillingham, Prince Norba, who was a transfer from Texas, and Clayton Smith, who is a transfer from Oklahoma. Also behind them, two really good linebackers, Keyshawn Elliott, uh, came last year from New Mexico State. Jordan Crook also came last year from Arkansas. So those are some of the notable transfers on defense, which again, I mean, they've already been here in some cases, 3 years. But this is defense that definitely got built from the ground up throughout transfers, and those are just some examples of the many transfers that are really contributing quite a bit to the Sun Devils on this side of the ball.
So I'm gonna get to the predictions here in just a minute. I could talk to you forever, man. It's always a joy. It's always a pleasure. So
Same here.
um, yeah, it's fun. So but before we kick into the predictions, okay,
Yep.
for Utah to beat Arizona State, and it's crazy, right? Because I heard on the radio today, they're like, oh, what's it gonna take for Arizona State to upset Utah? I get the point spread right now.
Mhm.
To me, if Arizona State beats Utah, it's not an upset. If Utah beats Arizona State on Saturday, to me that's an upset. I
Mhm.
throw the line out the window on that.
Yeah.
Um, so for Utah to pull off the upset against Arizona State, okay, two part. How does Utah need to attack? How does Utah's offense need to attack Arizona State? And then also how does Utah defense need to attack Sam Levitt and the guys?
Yeah. In terms of how the ASU defense has to play, and I'll take it, maybe from the perspective of Brian Ward, the defensive coordinator, and then obviously I'm not privy to the game plan at all, but I would think logic would say, and Texas Tech, again, if you talk about a team providing a blueprint, Texas Tech defensive ends are amazing, and I like to think that ASU is not too far behind it, but again, and I'm not breaking any news over here, but if Devin Dampier is forced to be a throwing quarterback in the pocket, he's not making plays
Correct.
with his
Yeah.
feet, whether he's moving the chains with his feet or throwing bootlegs or throwing on the run. That really is going to be the framework of not only ASU, I think any defense that faces Utah. Obviously, when you got two stud of offensive tackles that are going to be in the NFL draft, this April, then obviously that is much easier said than done. But again, if ASU can make Dampier a throwing quarterback contained in the pocket, that's going to be their best recipe for success. The question is that enough for a win? And that's where I go to the other side of the ball. And to have a monster Utah front seven, which basically is kind of like a wash, rinse, repeat when you look at the DNA of the Utes. Can they overwhelm an ASU offensive line that even the most optimistic ASU fan would admit has looked shaky pretty much all season? I mean, sure, some games, some quarters are looking better than others, but when it comes to pass protection and even honestly against TCU, but run blocking, wasn't always on point. And if this ASU offensive line is going to get rattled pretty quickly, let alone pretty quickly, pretty early in the game, I mean, it really is going to be a long night. For ASU. I think that both teams really want to establish the run. Again, nothing to do with the temperatures and the rainy conditions that we're expecting on Saturday night. But ASU knows that they do have to run the ball well, and just in general, the offensive line's got to play the game of their lives. Um, I have some doubts if that ASU offensive line is really up to the task, not only because of the quality of the opponent that they're facing, but just because of the inconsistencies that I've seen pretty much each and every game for the Sun Devils in that department. So that's really going to be huge. I know it's like the biggest no-brainer slash cliche in football is establish a line of scrimmage. The game is won in the trenches, but I just think like every team that faces Utah, you really can't overstate that fact, and that just gets enhanced that much more, just because Utah, now in 2017 and 2011 when they joined the Pac-12, I believe that was the first year. You just knew, you know, unbelievable offensive line, unbelievable front seven, and again, wash, rinse, repeat. That's just been the absolute staple of Utah football for the Utah program, and I was kind of blown away, and I'm sure Utah fans were last year when ASU absolutely dominated the line of scrimmage, and even though there were four starters returning from that offensive line in 2024, it doesn't have the same flavor. It just doesn't have the same vibe, which is really weird
Yeah.
to say
They
when you
were
have.
they were they were hurt. A bunch of those guys were hurt around that
Yeah,
games. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. But and I think we talked about the disappointments of Sam Levitt. To me, there's more disappointment I think on the offensive line. Again, you had four starters returning from a great offensive line that made Sam Levitt who he is. And Cam Scott will be the first one to say that offensive line made him look pretty, the entire season. And for that offensive line just not to be on point, not to really click, even though we're 5 games in, that definitely gives me, cause to pause. Like, yeah, ASU is going to be okay in this game. It's like that offensive line has to show me something that they haven't shown until now, and to me, that's going to be the biggest question mark, the biggest key to the game. If this offensive line can play much better than they did up until now this year, if they can really just play the game of their lives, if they can do it, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, but there's a huge burden of proof on that ASU offensive line, and everything's really going to trickle down for good or for bad from there.
You know, I kind of expected. I didn't really expect the surprise coming from your prediction here in the next little bit, and I'm sure
Yeah.
that you're still going to take ASU, but I'm not much more curious now after hearing what you were saying about the offensive line and your concerns on that. How you see this game playing out and what your prediction is going to be.
I think if I'm just true to my gut feeling right now, and all the ASU fans are going to watch this podcast later, I hope I'm wrong. But if I'm true to my gut feeling right now, I just don't know if this ASU offensive line can really. I'm not expecting them to dominate the Utah front seven, so nobody take that as that. But just to play at a level that they can give Sam Levitt all the time that he needs in the pocket, and they can really help ASU establish the run game, which is beyond critical for ASU to have any chance at an upset. Uh, you know, both teams are coming off the bye week. Maybe that helps that Utah's not in game mode. Coming into this game, I don't want to harp on too much. Rice eccles at night, rainy conditions, how that helps Utah, but again, I mean, if you're calling a spade, those conditions don't help ASU. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't think I'm being overly harsh by by saying that. So actually, Alex, I think Utah is going to win this game. And actually, I picked ASU to lose this game in the preseason. I mean, I thought ASU was going to duplicate the 10-2 record. I know my margin of error is pretty small now after they lost that game to Mississippi State pretty early in the season. But I think Utah is going to edge ASU 24-20. I think the game conditions are going to make it a low scoring one. But again, that ASU offense has to show me something on Saturday that I have not seen until now. And because I've not seen it until now, I do have to go with Utah in this game. But it's going to be close. I mean, I don't think any team is really going to blow out the other on Saturday night. I just feel that the both the intangibles and just that battle of the trenches is favoring Utah. Maybe not by a country mile, but still favoring Utah.
And I know Ute fans already respected you, but they're going to love you that much more now.
Well, I mean, again, I can only go by the body of work, and again,
Mhm.
I think the ASU defense can make life miserable for Dampier. Maybe not the level of Texas Tech, but I don't think it's going to be really too far behind it. So to me, the game for ASU is won and lost on the other side of the ball. The ASU offense, specifically the offensive line against the front seven of Utah. I mean, I know the Utah secondary, if I'm reading the map correctly, is kind of hurting, and
Yeah.
ASU could actually exploit it, and maybe other wide receivers not named Jordan Tyson can really have a great game, but again, not to belabor the point, if that offensive line can really give Sam Levitt the necessary protection all 4 quarters, then
Mhm.
then great. Then you can exploit the secondary. But if that's not going to happen to begin with, then it really doesn't matter how much that Ute secondary is or is not hurting. So again, that offensive line has to show me something I haven't seen until now, and the burden of proof is on them, and the question mark still lies there. So I will be surprised if Utah wins this game and the ASU offensive line comes out of this contest like, okay, they played good. You know what? I had low expectations. They exceeded them. Maybe they even shut me up in some respects. I'll just be very surprised if that would be the scenario that
Mhm.
that Utah wins the game. Uh, but I really feel that again, the offensive line, that's where everything starts and ends for ASU. Whether it is going to be a happy ending, don't take it to a different realm over here. But if it is going to be a happy ending for ASU, then the offensive line is going to play a huge positive role in that.
So for me, I just keep going back to how healthy is Devin Dampier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because the Texas Tech game, not taking anything away from them. They played great.
Yep.
They deserved that win. They were the better team. They finished the game. They closed out. Utah
Mm-hmm.
ran out of steam on the defense because the defense was having to be trusted to do too much that game because you had a hobbled Devin Dampier.
Yeah.
Okay. So he looked better against West Virginia. He looked a little bit more healthy. And now he's got, the 2 weeks from there. How how's his leg gonna respond? I can't say because I'll get my hand slapped, right? I can't say what area it is, right?
Sure,
I
I
mean
get it.
everybody can do their math, but yeah, so to me that's the biggest thing,
Mm-hmm.
and within something like that, me and Zach Moss, Cal Beck on some of the post game stuff we've done in the 48-hour rule podcast that we do as well. We keep harping on the fact that Devin Dampier has not proven that he's capable of throwing a deep ball, and
Mm-hmm.
that's scary. But at the same time, too, it's just about keeping teams honest, right?
Yep.
And I think that he's going to be healthy enough that we're going to see that on a couple of occasions this week. Whether they hit it or not is another story because they've tried it and they haven't been that successful this year with it. But
Yep.
I do think that they're due. I do think that's coming. I think that that's crucial in a game with an offense like Arizona State has, especially with Levitt and Tyson and how they're able to hit the big plays.
Mhm.
So, really, when it comes down to, I'm going to say Utah 30. For some reason, I keep doing predictions with Utah right around 30. I don't know what it is. I think that that's where I feel comfortable where they're typically going to land, right?
Mm.
I I want to say Utah 30, and I'll go ASU 24. It's going to be a close game.
Yeah.
You know, you can never count out. I love watching Levitt play.
Mm.
You can't count that guy out. So it's going to be just your typical, old Pac-12 era brawl, and
Totally.
it's going to be fun. Pac-12 after dark, Big 12 after dark now, right?
Yeah, exactly. We'll see if the Pac-12 After Dark magic comes back, and which side it does actually come back on. But yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely gonna be a great atmosphere. I mean, I have a feeling that people are gonna leave that game, win or lose, depending which fan of which team, gonna say like, wow, that really was a great game, and
Mhm.
kind of
It's
cool to
two
get
great
that.
teams.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool to get that, like you said, Pac-12 vibe back, Pac-12 After Dark vibe back, even in the new home of the Big 12. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I'm just like I said, I'm just really really curious which ASU team, it really is going to show up. I mean, maybe I would feel a little better about ASU's chances if Utah's loss to Texas Tech was the last game before the bye week. I think West Virginia is just one of those schools where it's just the remedy to all your ills. If you're struggling, uh, but uh,
You
but
don't
yeah,
you
but
don't want to play a pissed off Kyle Whittingham after a bye week, though.
yeah, I guess that is a good point. That really is a good point. I mean, maybe Rich Rodriguez learned that the hard way, even though the game was in Morgantown. But yeah, just Utah, they went on the road. I mean, sure, one of the worst teams in the Big 12, but they took care of business. ASU right before the bye week. Okay, they took care of business against TCU, but again, it was just like the Baylor game, and I'm telling you, even just like the NAU season opener, just like, yeah, you won, but why couldn't the offense be more consistent and do this better? Why couldn't the defense, be more consistent and do this better? I mean, it's just like the same vibe, same narrative after after each and every ASU win. So
When you
that's why,
nitpick when you nitpick, the team that you cover is good, and that's something that we've been
and
doing
that's
on
fair.
our podcast too.
And that's something that's fair. Like I said, I mean, I sang the praises of the defense, especially when it comes to pass rush and tackles for loss. I mean, their numbers are an insane pace compared to last year. And again, last year, even with all those issues, they still won the Big 12 championship. So you think like logic would tell, like, okay, well, I mean, this team has a great chance to repeat because this defense is playing better than it did last year, which is something we totally expected. And the offense, the running game, and I should have mentioned this earlier. The running game didn't take a dump after Cam Scadaboo left, and I think everybody outside of Tempe thought that's what's going to happen. One of my staff writers did a great job comparing the numbers after the first 5 games this year compared after the first 5 games last year, and the numbers are not that much off. Passing game, running game, and on defense, that actually better than they were just because they really started out the season so hot. So yeah, so there's definitely some positives to look at the offense. And again, Sam Levitt played his best game of the season, bar none, right before the bye week. So I know he's coming into this game with good momentum, which is huge for him personally, and obviously for the whole offense. But again, I'm just a guy that you just gotta show me the receipts before I'm gonna go out there and make a prediction that's gonna be based on more than just a gut feeling, but rather than just like a body of work. And even though I said I'm picking, my gut feeling tells me that Utah's going to win, but it's also ultimately dependent on the body of work that ASU showed and the body of work that Utah showed. And look, if ASU wins this game, which again, I mean, I'm not going to be shocked. I'm not going to fall off my chair. But it's like, okay, Texas Tech went over to Rice Eccles and won. ASU went over the Rice Eccles and won. Okay, now ASU and Texas Tech could say are legitimate Big 12 contenders this year. And maybe not the only one. Maybe some other teams that can sneak in that have easier schedules. But
Yeah.
and trust me, nobody in Tempe is looking ahead to that Texas Tech game next week. But let's put it this way: if ASU wins at Utah, I think ASU fans, coaches, players feel a whole lot better again
Right.
hosting Texas Tech the next week. And not to overstate the obvious, at worst ASU has to split those two games against Utah and Texas Tech to even still be mentioned in the hunt for the Big 12 championship game. And anytime you need to split, you just want to take care of the first games first, and then worry about the other game later, and not be, the quote unquote, back to the wall game against a great Texas Tech team. So, um, going back to what I said earlier, this is definitely a crossroads for ASU. There's two games at Utah, at home against Texas Tech. Like, okay, Sun Devils, which way are you going with this season? And can you really truly turn the page over what's been a mediocre first 5 games of the season, and now really start playing at the level that everybody expected you to play? This Utah game is going to tell us a whole lot.
You mentioned something in there that I think is kind of key and crucial on this too. That kind of you'd think would kind of give Utah a leg up, right?
Mm,
Is both of these teams are capable Big 12 contenders. Okay.
totally, 100%.
When it comes down to it, Utah has a lot more to lose by losing this game.
Yeah.
Okay. So uh if Utah wins this game, I fully expect Utah and Arizona State to be in it for one of the spots in that Big 12 championship game, right up to the very end.
Mhm.
But at the same time too, Utah loses this, a lot of that hope is out the window. Now you can't say it's done because I mean look what Utah did, those two Rose Bowl years,
And
right?
Look,
But it gets a
look what
lot
ASU
more.
did last year. I mean,
Yeah,
their two Big 12 losses kind of came, mid-season. I mean, it wasn't like very very late or anything like that. They just had a crazy November where they had 5 games in November and then went 5-0. I mean, that's unheard of for any team in any conference. But yeah, I mean, when you're going to be smack in the middle of the season after 6 games and already two Big 12 losses, again, not impossible because ASU did it last year. I mean, I forget when the second loss came, but I think it was around week 6, week 7. But again, I mean, your margin of error is nothing. After that, if you're going to have two losses mid-season, let alone earlier than that. So yeah, but definitely it's going to be. I mean, a much different vibe for Utah than ASU if they lose the game on Saturday, because there's only going to be one loss, and you know that if you can come home against Texas Tech and win, still have one loss in the Big 12, but now you won the head-to-head. ASU. I don't remember last year that they were sweating all those stupid tiebreakers. I was up until like almost like midnight. Until I could like tweet out ASU was in the Big 12 championship game. So I think we're waiting on the BYU score, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, you definitely want to take your fate in your own hands. But just because we're in a lovely 16-team conference and you're going to miss so many teams, and sure enough, almost all the teams that you miss are in the Big 12 championship picture up until last week is just kind of crazy. But obviously, it's going to go a long way in ASU chances to split these two games, let alone win both of them, to really try and repeat as Big 12 champions. Again, this game, I know it's going to say a lot for Utah, of course, but it's definitely going to say a lot for ASU,
true.
and what the chances are to repeat as conference champs.
For sure. Well, Hode, my friend, always a pleasure. I
Same here.
gotta throw one shot at the Big 12, and this is not you talking, but this is your action. Okay.
Okay.
So all these new places to be able to take all of your riders and spoil them, like awesome. That's so cool that you're doing this, man.
Yeah.
And you pick Utah, right? Like, I mean, I get the mountains, everything. It's so nice, especially
Yeah.
this time of year, right?
Yeah.
Awesome atmosphere. We've already talked about that. It's close, but man, like, there are not many places that that are in this conference that are worthwhile to take the group to on a road trip, my friend. I mean, you can do UCF, right? But that's going to
Yeah,
cost you a
yeah,
pretty penny.
yeah.
But
No, exactly. But I wanted to experience Rice Eccles. At the time, I didn't know it was going to be an 8:15 kickoff. I know I sound like a whiner, but man, that still blows me away.
it's
Um,
tough.
but yeah, I mean, just to experience Rice Eccles 8:15 kickoff. Experience that atmosphere. I mean, great tailgating atmosphere. I mean, I was at Mississippi State obviously a few weeks back, and I still think, and I'm not here to brown nose or anything, but the tailgate atmosphere it's in Salt Lake is just like a lot of SEC teams that I saw out there, including Mississippi State. So I was definitely definitely always been impressed with the atmosphere over there. Again, when the tailgates aren't dry like they are in Provo, you know, you're bound to have a good tailgate scene, right? But
Exactly.
but yeah, I mean,
The cougar tells them the ice cream can only take you so far, right?
exactly. Exactly. But yeah, but I mean, I think my staff members are going to enjoy the atmosphere really from top to bottom. Are they going to enjoy the game itself? That's going to be another question.
Yep,
Big TBD on that. But yeah, I think it's overall a really cool place to take your staff over there. I would recommend it to any other visiting beat writer and their staff.
for sure, man. Well,
Yeah,
let's try to do breakfast, brunch, whatever, and then
absolutely.
I will drop you a pin to where I'm at with the tailgate lot. My
Sounds good.
my guys will always take care of you guys. So,
Sounds
all
good,
right.
buddy.
Well, everybody, I want to thank everybody for joining us. I want to continue to encourage everybody to hit the like, hit the subscribe. Also, head over to utenation.com. We got a promo code going on right now, all caps Ute50. Just come enjoy the ride. We're really loving what we're building over here, and especially the podcast. We've had a great response this first little bit over a month into the season here. So looking forward to keep building that with so many great guests and so many different great segments. Hod, always, man, it's always a pleasure. Like I've said a bunch on this, man, you're always gold when it comes to
Appreciate it.
getting info and just having fun conversation, man. So
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Good thing. ASU and Utah are in the same conference still, so we can still have these conversations.
I
Hopefully
agree.
for many years to come.
I agree, man. All right. Well, I will see you this weekend, and everybody
All right.
else, we'll see you soon.